Hello, everybody. This is Eric Vierthaler of Vierthaler Studios here once again. And I'm here for the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Draper Forte.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, certainly, of course. So, how about you tell the audience what it is that you do?
I am an actor local to Texas, the DFW area.
Awesome. So, what exactly initiated your journey?
Oh, wow. Let's see. It started in middle school. I kind of was having a conversation with my cousin Elizabeth, and we were watching The Lost Boys, and we were huge Lost Boys fans. And she had made a comment that she was going to become an actress and work with the Coreys, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Uh
And in my mind, I couldn't let her outdo me, so
huh.
I decided that I was going to start acting when I got into high school. And that's what I did. I started my sophomore year. I auditioned for a role in a play. I didn't get it until somebody failed out at the 6 weeks, and I was the backup, and it's been history from there. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's just interesting to imagine that it was all because of competition with watching The Lost Boys, which and then got you to pursue acting.
right.
So it sounds like when you were in high school, you did you like did like a lot of like theater and whatnot.
Yes, I did a lot of theater, and the only filming I did was my close group of buddies. We would get together. One of my buddies, Charlton, had his dad's video camera, and we would make short films in our backyards, and make like music videos for Pearl Jam and things like that. We would make our own music videos.
Nice, awesome. That certainly sounds exciting.
It was a fun time, and it got me hooked. It got me the bug. So I've
Yep,
been doing it ever since.
yep. And then as I always say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So I checked out your filmography on IMDb, and then I saw that you did a movie called like The Diamond Texture.
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually was watching that like on Tubi, and yeah, like I love the production quality, and I love the production design. I especially really liked that one like warehouse that you guys use with all of like the graffiti on the
That
walls, and so yeah. So I'm just curious, how did you guys find that? If you're aware of that.
I believe that it's an abandoned hospital in Dallas,
Okay.
and the director of the film, I believe, was the building manager.
Okay.
I believe that's the backstory on that Doobie, and it was it was a brainchild of his, as far as I know. He had the idea. There was no script for it. It was just ideas on the page, and everything was improv.
Okay.
The whole movie was improv. So it
Oh,
took
wow.
us, I think, total it took about a year of all the filming and stuff, because we could only film at certain times
Uh huh.
to get people there. But the idea was really cool. I really enjoyed working on it. So
Yeah, and wow. I actually was not aware of the like that entire movie was improvised.
yes, he had some basic ideas of what he wanted the scene to be, but everything else in it, all the dialogue and everything, was improvised.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, when watching the movie, I don't feel like you ever would even notice that.
Yeah, no, it turned out really, really well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, wow. And I mean, I just got to give like really huge kudos like to everybody who made the movie. I mean, considering that. Yeah, and I mean, usually as far as I'm aware, there's always a script, and knowing that it was improvised. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
and I think there are plans to do another one. The director Doobie B has reached out and says he wants to do another one. So
Awesome. Seeing like how much I dug the original. I mean, you certainly can count on me. Like to go check it out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And so, are you gonna start filming that this year or next year or what?
I'm not sure when that starts filming. I think he's just in the pre-production phases right now. So
Okay, which I would say that that's fair, and I mean, considering that it's usually that stage, either that or post production, is one of the longest phases, at least in well, at least in my own opinion. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, just out of curiosity, how did you get involved with that film?
I actually responded to a Facebook ad. It was a post on Facebook, and I sent my headshot and resume. And he called me up and said he liked my look and wanted me to come in and join the cast.
Awesome. And then, well, as I say, the rest is history. So yeah, and I also checked out that one short film that you sent me, and
Okay.
yeah, like what I really loved about it is well, like that I really felt like that black and white filter that I had on it made it feel like a old school
Yes,
Western.
yes, that was the goal, was to make it look like the old vampire and werewolf movies and things like that. So
Yeah, basically. So yeah, so basically it was like if like an old school Western had like a little bit mix of horror.
yes, yes, yeah. I'm very proud of that. Everybody that worked on the film, it was probably one of the best sets I've ever been on, and we all gave 110%, and it was beautifully shot, I thought.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And I especially okay, so spoilers for all those who haven't seen it, but for all those who haven't seen it, I have shared it on my Facebook and I shared it on my YouTube channel, and so the audience, please go check that out. What I loved is how at the very end, like how you were talking to that person, and then you were saying that how you made a lot of mistakes and that you didn't want them to go through what you did. I thought that was just such a powerful moment.
Yes, yeah, it was really good. It was basically a father and a son having a heart to heart moment.
Certainly, yeah. And I just felt like that really humanized your character. I just really felt like that made your character just so much more relatable.
Well, thank you. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I was going for.
Awesome. Well, you sure pulled it off. Yeah. And so out of all genre movies, what would you say is your favorite genre?
I would have to say my favorite genre would be comedy.
Okay.
I love doing comedy. I was in an improv troupe for 5 years. We traveled around, did some festivals and stuff in Dallas and Oklahoma. We even did was it the North Carolina Comedy Arts Festival? There was myself and another troupe mate of mine, Carissa. We did a two-person show at the North Carolina Comedy Arts Festival, and we brought down the house. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing the improv comedy. So, and I love comedies in general, and making people laugh, or just giving people those emotions to escape from their real life is one of the things that I really enjoy about acting in this medium, is drawing those emotions out and those feelings out in somebody. If I can do that, then I've done my job.
Yeah. Certainly, yeah. And as far as I can tell, like a lot of comedians actually say that the reason why that they even became comedians in the first place is because that they know how it's like to not be happy, and so then therefore that's their way of trying to give back to the universe, like like to make other people feel the complete opposite of what they felt.
Yes, yeah, and that's true for me too. I've struggled with depression and anxiety most of my life, and I'm working through that. But yeah, this is definitely therapeutic for me as an actor, to help get those emotions out.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And yeah, and honestly, a lot of other actors I have met, and a lot of filmmakers in general, they all have said the exact same thing. And I just feel like that just makes our bond that much more powerful. And I just want to say that I'm really sorry that you had to deal with all that. I mean, that's really hard to deal with, but hey, I just hope that it is cathartic for you to know that that it's not just you.
Yes, it is. And when not to get too deep here, but when I was diagnosed with depression, I had a lot of people that I know come out and say, "Hey, I am too. I've been diagnosed too." And I was like, "Oh, I could never tell. Uh, you don't present yourself as feeling the way I feel." And so that made me feel like I was not part of a brotherhood, but I wasn't alone in the world. So
Yep. Oh yeah, certainly so. And and it's definitely good to know that like that there's other people out there who are going through the exact same thing you are.
yes, yes, it's and if I can do something to help alleviate some of those feelings by making people laugh or cry just to get it out, that's one of my goals, is to help leave the world a better place than when I got here.
Yeah, which that actually sounds like a quote that I heard. I believe it was from Bill Nye, like where Bill Nye said, "Why leave the world worse than what you found it?"
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, and I think that that's one of the best quotes that I have ever heard.
Yeah, I've tried to instill that in my daughter, and anybody that I come across. I try to make sure that my interactions with them leave them better than when they met me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like what Rocky Balboa said. It's not about how hard you get hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess with all that said, so what do you feel like is like some of the best life quotes that you have ever heard? Besides, well, besides all of the ones we just said.
um, that's a really good question. Wow, you got me stumped here.
I'm sorry.
No, no, that's all right. That's all right. I just don't want to have dead air. Um, I've always had a quote that I've said is that everybody is somebody else's stepping stone,
Uh huh.
but you don't have to stay down. You can always get back up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Certainly so. I definitely would say that that's a yeah, yeah. I definitely would say that that's a very good one. But yeah, so you were mentioning comedy. Would you have a favorite comedian?
Ooh, favorite comedian. Are we talking stand up or acting wise?
Either one.
Either one. Oh goodness. Let's see. Stand up. I'm a big fan of Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer. I'm fans of both of them. Um, as far as movies go, I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan. I think he is just genius. Jack Black as well.
Uh
They
huh.
both are just phenomenal. Um, and they're very good at doing the opposite too. They're very good at bringing out the dramatic side. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
very surprising. Um, Michael Keaton, when he started out, he was a comedic actor, and then he broke through into dramas with Clean and Sober. And that, just when I saw that movie, that blew me away, that somebody that funny could be that serious and pull it off. So I would definitely have to say Michael Keaton is one of the people I look up to in the industry. So
Oh yeah. And one of the things that I love about Michael Keaton is that when he was first cast as Batman, people were taking issue with that, and they were trying to boycott it. And keep in mind, this was before like the dawn of the internet and Facebook
right,
and whatnot. And then people were complaining about him being Batman simply because he was Mr. Mom in a comedy, and people were saying, I can't see a funny guy being Batman. And then what I love about that is that he proved them all wrong. And
yes,
there are a lot of people in including myself, like who will say that he's one of the best Batman actors we have ever had.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think his performance as Batman was by far the best. I also look at that with like Heath Ledger as the Joker. I I myself I try not to judge uh, people and their performances based on how I treated Heath Ledger when he got cast. I was very anti that. I was like the guy from A Knight's Tale and what was it? 10 Things I Hate
Brokeback.
About You, or yeah, Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I was like, there's no way he can pull this off. And then, I mean, he got the Oscar for it. He was incredible. So based on that, I've tried not to judge anybody that's been cast. I think I try to give everybody a chance to be able to show what they can do.
Yeah, which I would say that's fair, and I mean considering that we ourselves like are actors, and it's just a real shame, like by the fact that Heath Ledger didn't get to live to see how he proved everybody wrong. And I mean, heck, he even won an Oscar, and it's a shame that he didn't win that Oscar. But hey, but at least his family got to accept it, like on his behalf.
Right.
Yeah, and what I find, so interesting is that him and Joaquin Phoenix both won an Oscar playing the exact same character.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, and then, another similar situation that happened, it was with me, a coincidence also having to do with Batman. When Robert Pattinson was first cast as Batman, I made a video about this on my YouTube channel as proof. I was so angry at him being Batman. I was like, what? Mr. Sparkles from Twilight is Batman?
The bedazzled vampire.
Yeah, exactly. But I was not happy with that. But then the movie came out, and I guess it's just the nostalgia bias. I still personally prefer Michael Keaton as Batman, but Robert Pattinson, he did a phenomenal job.
I thought so too. I thought the movie was a little long,
Yeah.
but I thought that he pulled off the role. I thought he did a really good job.
Oh yeah, and in my own personal opinion, I think he made a better Batman than he did as Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. I completely agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, they are making the sequel, and so it's definitely possible, like that he can expand upon his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that is true. He's always got room to grow. So
Oh yeah, certainly so. And yeah, and that's a very common complaint that I have heard about the movie. It is like just how long it is, and funny because that's also the same thing people said about the Dark Knight films.
yes, I thought when the Dark Knight films came out, I thought that they were groundbreaking in being able to make a superhero or vigilante movie take place to where you believe that it could happen in real life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, certainly so. And then that's actually why the Christopher Nolan said that he wanted to take from the more realistic villains, like like Two Face, because according to research, there actually have been people out there who have survived having half of their face melted off. And so, that one makes sense, like that you can do that one more realistically. And then yeah, and then with Bane and the Dark Knight Rises, while they did take some liberties on that from the comics, but I can see why that they did, just to make him more realistic too.
Right.
Yeah, and especially that voice, like, people often were saying that he kind of sounds like a mixture of Sean Connery mixed with Darth Vader. Yeah, and then, as soon as somebody pointed that out, I was like, never thought of it that way at first, but it makes sense.
Yeah, now that you say that, I can definitely hear both mixed in to that performance.
Oh yeah, certainly so. So I guess in your own opinion, out of all the Dark Knight movies, like Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight Rises, what one would you say is your personal favorite?
I would have to say the second one, The Dark Knight, um, with the Joker. So that one by far I thought was the best of the three.
Yeah, and honestly, of all the people I've met, from what I've seen online, forums, and whatnot, from what I've seen, people usually will say that.
Yeah, that's a general consensus. It's just like with the Star Wars movies. What's your favorite out of the three? Most everybody says Empire, which because it was darker. Spoiler alerts: the good guys don't win.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find it a coincidence that you said that because it's almost like as if you read my mind. I was about to say the same thing, like with the parallel to the original Star Wars trilogy. People always say that the Empire Strikes Back is their favorite, and even going back to even the Godfather trilogy, most people I met like will say that they think that Part Two is the best one.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that too. I love The Godfather. I think it is probably up there in the top five, top 10 best all time movies. But I would have to say that Godfather 2 just ekes it out a little bit in my mind of just rewatchability for me. If
Uh-huh.
if either of them are on, Godfather 3, I'll sit down and watch. But out of the first two, if either of those are on TV, I have to stop down and just watch. I can't walk by the TV and not pay attention.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And that right there, like just shows like just how good of a job that they did. I mean, considering that when you have a movie, you of course want people to go back and rewatch it. And it's because the more they watch it, the more and more business that they generate. And yeah, and I mean, if it's a movie that you feel like you only need to watch once and that's it, it's kind of telling.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, people can have their own opinions, and that's fine. But when I saw the third Jurassic World Dominion, it's like, look, I do understand that they put hard work into it. But what I thought was telling is that after the first two Jurassic World movies, I could go back and rewatch them. But with Dominion, I felt like that I could go back and rewatch it because it had the original cast, but just I, you know, you know, I haven't seen it ever since the theater, and I kind of feel like that's kind of telling.
Right. Yeah, there have been a few movies that I've seen in the past that it's a one and done. I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I watched this, but I probably won't ever watch it again.
Yeah, and what I also find telling is that I have a friend of mine like who worked on all three Jurassic World movies,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and she even said that the third one, Dominion, she said that that's her least favorite of the entire franchise.
Oh, wow.
And that's telling coming from somebody who actually was associated with the making of the not the Jurassic Park movies, but the Jurassic World movies. I'm like, oh, yeah, that is telling.
Yes, it is. And I heard that they're trying to reboot the Jurassic movies. They're going to start up another series of Jurassic movies.
Yep, that's the same thing that I've heard, and it's like I do understand where some people are coming from when they say, "Oh, come on, another movie in the series." While I get it where they're coming from the creative viewpoint, or from the business viewpoint, it makes sense since it is a big name franchise, and all of those movies have made Universal a lot of money.
Yes, lots of money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they got bills and all that stuff that they got to pay for too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the new one I heard is not going to have Chris Pratt. It's going to have Scarlett Johansson in it.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yes, I'm interested. I'm a ScarJo fan. I'd like to see how she's portrayed in the movie. So
Yeah, and I believe it comes out next year. And so yeah, so next year we will find out.
yes, yes. There have been lots of reboots. I'm just to change a little bit. I'm interested to see what James Gunn is going to do with the new Superman movie.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, certainly so. And I mean, while it's a shame to see Henry Cavill go, but hey, I mean, there's an old time saying, "Out with the old, in with the new."
yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it because I really like what James Gunn did with the Guardians movies.
Uh huh.
So now that he's the Kevin Feige over at Warner Brothers for the DC, I'm interested. I'm willing to give him a chance on what he's doing.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And yeah, and I'm definitely liking the cast. I like who they got as Superman. He definitely has that Superman look because I feel like it just wouldn't really be Superman if he didn't have that look.
Right, and I like that he's not somebody that's overly famous.
Yep.
I think that's one of the things with the superhero movies, which I'm a huge fan of,
Uh-huh.
is not having superstars come in at the beginning to portray those pivotal roles, so that you're not you can differentiate between the actor and the performance. Because like War of the Worlds, I thought was a good movie, but because Tom Cruise was in it, it distracted me. I just saw Tom Cruise the whole time, and I
Yep.
think if they had had somebody lesser named in there, I think I would have been more sucked into the movie.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I'm really looking forward to see what this new Superman has to offer.
Yeah, and actually, as a matter of fact, funny that you mentioned Superman and with like the overly famous person. I believe it was Richard Donner, like who directed the very original Superman with Christopher Reeve.
Hmm.
He actually said that he wanted the audience to believe that a man could fly, and originally, like that, the film studio wanted like a really big name, like they wanted Sylvester Stallone as Superman.
Really?
But then, the director found Christopher Reeve, and Reeve, he definitely has that look where he was pulled right out of the comics.
Yes, yes. He was a spitting image of the comics.
Hmm.
So, and I think like Tom Welling was really good in Smallville. I thought that he was a great young Superman.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And yeah, and what I loved about that show is how during the beginning, Lex and uh, Lex and Superman like were really good friends.
Hmm.
As the show went on, that they started to hate each other more and more, and just how there was more tension as time went on, and especially when he started to date Lana Lane.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that adds tension.
yeah. I thought that I believe it was Michael Rosenbaum was the Lex Luthor in Smallville. I thought he was phenomenal as Lex.
Oh yeah, certainly so, and I definitely do agree. I honestly will say that I think that he is the best Lex that we have ever had.
Yeah, I would agree that I'm partial to, was it Gene Hackman,
Yeah,
his performance in the originals, but yeah, I think as a whole, comic book wise, I think that Michael Rosenbaum was true to the character. So
yeah, and I mean, also talk about dedication on his end, considering that he would shave his head bald for season after season after season, and yeah, I mean, that definitely takes some dedication.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, considering that I actually was bald at one point, it more so was like a personal choice,
Hmm.
and having to constantly shave my head. I did that from late 2021 all the way until August 2022. And yeah, doing it for just those amount of months, even then it got tiring. So I can only imagine doing it for years.
Yeah, that takes some dedication.
That it does, yeah. And yeah, and then according to my research with that show, it was supposed to be a Batman origin story show, but the thing was they were doing Batman Begins at that time as a movie, and then they felt like that would just be too redundant. So instead, that's why it was a Superman show.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so a little bit of interesting trivia.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on the topic of superheroes, but yeah, what did you think of Superman Returns?
Initially, I was I was not a fan. I don't know exactly why. I think Brandon Routh.
Yeah, yeah,
I believe he looked like a spitting image of
yeah,
Christopher Reeve. I thought that I didn't think any of the performances were lacking in the movie. I thought that some of the storyline in the movie was just not as good as it could have been. Not like I could write anything better, to be honest. So I'm not taking away from the writers, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. Um, I thought that the special effects, the bullet to the eye, was incredible. I thought
Uh-huh.
that was really really good. But I just it's out of all of the Superman movies, it's probably not my favorite.
Yeah, and I have met people who say the same thing. I met people who say either that or Superman 4 is their least favorite. So yeah, I could definitely see why people would say that. About, well, and I mean especially about either one.
Right. Yeah. And I think I'm partial just because I grew up with Superman. He was my with Christopher Reeves as my Superman. Everybody's got, their first their first portrayal is normally their favorite. So I had Christopher Reeves as Superman. I had Michael Keaton. I will say I have a debate with a younger guy that I work with. He thinks that Tobey Maguire is the GOAT as Spider-Man, and I think that Tom Holland is the best of the three Spider-Men that we've had. Just comic book portrayal wise, I think Tom Holland is the best, but I do have a special place in my heart for Tobey because he was my first Spider-Man.
Yeah, which honestly, I can say the exact same thing. Is because Toby's Spider-Man actually was the was the Spider-Man of my childhood, and it was his Spider-Man that introduced me to Spider-Man, and then that's why spoilers for No Way Home when he came back for No Way Home, I was so happy. I'm like, yes, the Spider-Man of my childhood, the Spider-Man of my teenhood, and now the Spider-Man of my adulthood. It's almost like seeing my whole entire life on the big screen.
Yes, yeah, it was a culmination. It's almost like the video soundtrack of your life.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, yeah. And what I loved about Toby Maguire, he really nailed the social outcast, and he really nailed like the social awkwardness of
Yes,
her. Yeah, and honestly, while yes, Andrew and Tom did did a good job at that too, but in my own personal opinion, if I was around either of their Peter Parkers in real life, I would feel more awkward around the Toby one.
yes, yeah. So I
So
think that Tom Holland has the Spider-Man wit, the humor, the wisecracks. I think that's what he gives the best in his performance of Spider-Man.
oh yeah, and I mean, especially considering that that was such an essential part of the character throughout the comics.
Yes, and I just saw yesterday that the rumor is that Michael Keaton will be back as Vulture in the next Spider-Man movie. So I'm super pumped about that, and that they're
Yeah,
casting two more villains for the movie.
yeah, that's the same thing that I heard too. And honestly, I'm really surprised that we didn't see him or the Rhino come back like for No Way Home. I'm really, really surprised.
Yeah, I thought I had read at one point in time that they were gearing up to do the Sinister Six movie, but I think they were wanting to introduce some other villains and then be able to combine all of them together to go up against Spider-Man.
Yeah, which I heard that back when they were doing Amazing Spider-Man 2, they actually tried to set up for a Sinister Six cinematic universe, but a very common trait that I've seen throughout Hollywood franchises is that where they try to set up a cinematic universe, but they're more so focused on setting up future movies rather than focusing on that movie
On
itself.
that movie. Exactly. I
Yeah,
think
like
sometimes they try and shove too much into one film to make sure they get everything in there to set up the next one instead of focusing on the meat of the story. And if this extra doesn't push the story along, then you can probably just do away with it. And I think the fear is there might not be a next one.
yeah.
So that's why they try and incorporate as much as they can in some of those. Because I think they did that in the last Amazing Spider-Man. I think they tried to throw too many things in at once.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And then we saw that happen yet again with the Tom Cruise Mummy. Funny that
Yes.
I mentioned that. It's because you mentioned Tom Cruise like with War of the Worlds, and that also even happened with Batman v Superman.
Hmm.
Going back to our conversation about Superman and
Yeah.
Batman, and yeah, Yeah, it's unfortunately a very common thing that happens, like with setting up cinematic universes.
Yeah, I think somebody that, and going back to the comedies, changing gears a little bit, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan.
Uh huh.
And his universe that he created with Clerks and Mallrats, and how all of those movies intertwine, their characters went to school together and live in the same town and whatnot. I thought that he did a really good job at creating his own universe.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And and it just goes to show that, unfortunately, I've heard people say, "Oh, if it's an indie film, no one will ever see." Okay, that's so not true. It's because Kevin Smith started like with independent films, or like with Clerks, and even Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was an indie film, and
Right,
Terrifier, that was indie. Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. It's like no, that is so not true about independent films.
right. Especially nowadays, I think independents have more respect in the community than they used to back in the early days. And I have to say that directors like Spike Lee and Richard Linklater and Kevin Smith, I think all of them pushed indies to the next level, uh,
Hmm.
and garnered that respect of the community to be able to to give them a chance.
Oh yeah, and one of the really nice things about independent films is that usually it's the filmmaker like that gets to have a lot more freedom to do what they want. I mean, heck, even Damien Leone said that with Terrifier 3, which actually just came out, and I just saw it last night. I really enjoyed it. Even he said that, yeah, if this were to be have financed by a big name studio, there would have been no way that he would have gone away with the opening scene.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it yet, so
Okay, well, I'm not gonna give anything away, but
okay.
yeah, but what's also great to know about Terrifier 3 is that knowing that it's an independent film, and as far as I can tell, it's number one at the box office.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and so I mean, for an independent film, that's huge, and that also even happened like with like the Blair Witch project, like back when that came out, and Halloween, and so yeah, and so history has shown time and time again like that people will watch independent films.
Right. And I was completely sucked in by the Blair Witch Project and everything they were doing about the found footage. And you could go to this website and read the backstories on how these people were missing and things like that. I thought that their marketing for that movie was incredible.
Oh
So
yeah, certainly so. And the same thing can be said about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's just like what with the marketing for that movie, they were saying, "Oh, based off of true events," which it only very, very loosely was. But hey, I mean, it's all a part of the ploy of marketing.
I think there was is it Longlegs, the new Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, yeah.
I think they had some marketing like that too, where you could call a phone number and uh, hear some backstory and things like that. So they
Oh
were
wow,
pushing that. Yeah,
wow. I actually honestly was not even aware of that.
yeah.
So that,
I think they had a website too where you could see some of the crime scene photos and things like that. So I thought that it was really good marketing as well.
oh yeah, certainly so. And I mean, and that really is, one of the ways to get people to see your movie is with the marketing.
Yeah,
And
the media buzz of today's social media, getting things out there on that is crucial nowadays. It seems.
yeah, and I mean, considering that back when Terrifier 2 came out a few years ago, like there was all this marketing about how people were passing out watching the movie itself. Have you seen Terrifier 2?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, after seeing the movie, I can definitely see why some people would faint.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if that's true or not, if it is true, I can see why it would happen. If it's not true, then it's just a marketing ploy. But yeah, so out of all the film projects you have done, like acting or behind the scenes and whatnot, what would you say was your what would you say was your most enjoyable one?
The most enjoyable one would probably be the short film that we discussed earlier, Silverlight. That
Okay,
I think one because I was the main character, so I
fair.
had a lot riding on my shoulders. Um, so I gave it everything that I had. Um, I really dedicated myself to the role to make sure I had the lines down. I came up with some improv stuff just in case. The crew was phenomenal. They were all college students, and they made me feel right at home. It's I've never felt like that on a set before,
Oh,
where there was always I came from a theater background where everything is ensemble work and you paint the sets. You know in high school you build the sets, you paint the sets, you all work together, you hang out together. It's a family affair, and I was a little weirded out because I was just the actor on this project, where I wasn't allowed to wrangle cables or help with
right.
lighting and things like that. I would always offer, and they were like, no, 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 you just work on your lines, just relax, rest. You've got plenty to do. So I would have to say that was my most enjoyable. I've had fun on every set that I've worked on in different forms and fashions. Um, I would have to say I really enjoyed. I was an extra on Prison Break
Oh
uh,
wow.
twice. They filmed in the Las Colinas area here in DFW, and I was what I referred to at the time was fat guy with file folder. So the two of the FBI guys come walking in the scene, and you see me cross through the background handing a file folder to somebody. And then I was the FBI agent in that one, and I was a CIA agent in another episode. But you only see my legs walking away. I didn't, no lines or anything. But to be on that set and to see people that I looked up to in the industry and how they worked, that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, certainly so, and it sounds like a lot of fun. So with that short film you were in, with it being all college students, I'm assuming that it was like a film school project.
Yes, I believe it was a senior thesis project.
Okay, awesome. Well, I certainly hope that they all got a really good grade on it.
I
Fingers
I
crossed.
think they did. They got high marks on that. So
Awesome, yeah, and I mean, especially after seeing the film itself, yeah, and I mean, like just the production quality, yeah, it was extremely well done.
yeah, it was a lot of fun, and my co-star in there, Zach Atwood, was a lot of fun to be with. We got along great. He was constantly looking for movie suggestions on things that he should study up on, and he gave me ideas for talent agents to look for representation. So there was a lot of camaraderie on the set. It was we filmed in on a farm in Lampasas, Texas, and it was the cinematographer and writer and co-director of the film. It was, I believe, his family's property that we went out and filmed on. There were horses out there and chickens, and so it was a lot of fun. So
Nice, awesome, and yeah, and I mean, ultimately, that's what matters most is that you have fun.
yes, yes, and I drove away with a smile on my face, and then when we saw the final product, my smile got even bigger because I'm
Aw,
super proud of everything everybody did.
that's amazing, and it just makes you feel that much better about yourself, knowing that it can make you smile.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I'd like to, if I can, give a shout out to the cast and crew.
Yeah, yeah.
Karen Padilla was the cinematographer, and he's got a beautiful eye for everything behind that camera. He was the co-director. Erin Spence, she was the co-director as well. She has great vision um, for projects. I think that they are going to go far Riley Glenn was the assistant director. He made sure that everybody was on time. Um, Kyle Bosler was the gaffer. His lighting was phenomenal. Laura Lee was the art director. She did costumes and set design and did the makeup and stuff, and that was great. Isaiah Navarro was sound. He was a lot of fun to work with. I thought that the sound was incredible on that. And then there was Kyle Preston did the music. So I just wanted to say to everybody, thank you for everything that y'all did for me, and I'm much appreciative. And if you ever have anything else you want me to act in, I am there for you. So
Awesome, yeah, and I mean, and that really is the best thing that you can do. Like, is to, I mean, that really is the best thing that you can do is to show your support.
yes, yeah, I try to I try to get involved with everybody on the set, because you never know who's going to be looking for somebody. Any set that I've been on, I try and take pictures with the sound people, with the grips and whatnot, because you never know who's going to be directing the next project. And if you're good to them, they may remember that and say, "Hey, I liked this guy on this project. Let me call him up and use him for this because he was fun to work with."
Yeah, which I can imagine that that's probably why that you would see. That's probably why that you would see Johnny Depp in like every single Tim Burton movie, and that's probably why that you see a lot of the same actors throughout Rob Zombie's movies, like
Right,
Mosley and even his wife and all these other movies throughout all of his movies. And yeah, and I mean, making a good impression. I mean, especially within the film world, it's pretty vital.
right, right. I think you got to treat everybody with respect. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like that old classic saying goes: treat others the way how you would like to be treated.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because unfortunately, there are some actors out there, and even just filmmakers in general, where once they start to have a bad reputation, and then that's why you stop seeing them. Like a really good example is Harvey Weinstein.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of those things where if you're gonna have a bad reputation, well, then don't be surprised by your quality of life.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, heck, even at that 9 to 5 job, if you don't show up, if you're a no call, no show, well, and then don't be surprised that you're gonna lose that job.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then afterwards they'll have to figure out what their next source of income is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, would you have any dream role?
Oh, dream role. To be honest, I would love to do anything with Nicolas Cage.
Okay,
I have been a fan of his since I was young, since I was in high school.
okay.
Seeing him portray H.I. McDonough in Raising Arizona was a stroke of brilliance, and everything from was Valley Girl to anything that he's done, like Face Off. I was a fan of that. I'm a little biased when it comes to him because I like everything that he's done. He's got a way with making the character his own, and it's
Uh-huh.
unique. Nobody can act like Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And I mean, knowing that he's been relevant for like for this long, and and considering that he can do over the top, like from what I heard, he originally was gonna be he originally was gonna be the lead in The Mask, but then that went to Jim Carrey instead. While I can see Nicolas Cage as it because he can pull off more over the top roles, but Jim Carrey, like he pretty much is like a human cartoon character.
He is, yes, and as far as I know, they are good friends. When they did Peggy Sue Got Married, Nicolas Cage was in Peggy Sue Got Married, and I believe Jim Carrey has a small role in that movie.
Oh
Uh,
wow, yeah, I'm really surprised that I'm just now hearing about that, considering that I've been a big Jim Carrey fan since I was a kid. So yeah, so that's all news to me.
yeah. If I'm remembering correctly, I think they are friends and tried to work together when they could. Uh, So, but yeah, if I'm remembering right, he had a small role on when, and there are no small roles, but he
Oh yeah.
had a role in Peggy Sue Got Married. And I believe that Nicolas Cage and Johnny Depp are buddies too. I've read a story that Nicolas Cage introduced Johnny Depp to his agent and said, "This guy's going to go places."
Oh wow. Honestly, I actually never even knew that either. And so, there's an old time saying goes, you learn something new every day.
Every day. Yep.
Wow, that is really interesting. And yeah, and I mean, it's very common throughout the, Hollywood and just the film business in general, like where, people are friends with each other. Like a good example is how Ben Affleck and Matt Damon like are good friends.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And those two, I would love to work with them too.
Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah.
That was Good Will Hunting was a beautiful movie. Uh, R.I.P. Robin Williams. Uh,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have loved to have worked with him. That would have been phenomenal. Anything that Robin Williams has ever done was great. Good Morning Vietnam, The Birdcage, um, was What Dreams May Come, um, Jumanji.
Uh huh.
Yeah, all of those he was great.
It
And
just. Oh.
sorry, that's another example of a comedian that can do dramatic.
Oh yeah. Certainly so. And yeah, I definitely do apologize. I didn't mean to cut you out there, but
Oh
yeah,
no,
it,
no.
it just feels crazy knowing that it's been 10 years since Robin Williams died.
Right.
That
And
is crazy.
I saw a meme the other day because McGonagall from Harry Potter just passed.
Yep, yep.
They were in Hook together, and she said, "I'll see you in 10 years," or it's been 10 years, and she died 10 years after he did.
Yeah, and from what I saw, that she died like what, like on the exact same day. I believe that.
If it wasn't the exact same day, it was close, I believe. So
That sounds about right from what I saw on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, that's such an eerie coincidence. Like,
it is.
talk about like just how eerie that all is. I mean, call it. I mean, I guess it depends on what one individual believes. If it's fate, a coincidence, or if it was, or what. But yeah, it's still eerie regardless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there are a lot of coincidences in the world. So it's
there are. Yeah, like how, funny. I've been told that I look like Jim Carrey my whole life when I've been a big fan of him. So,
yeah. One of the things that got me on Nicolas Cage was when I did a theater competition my sophomore year, and one of the judges, when I was younger, told me that I looked like a young Nicolas Cage from Honeymoon in Vegas. So that got me. I was like, oh, let me check this guy out, and then I saw Raising Arizona, and the rest was, as you say, the rest was history. So
yeah, yeah. Raised in Arizona. Oh man, I will never forget that when my family and I were much younger, we would watch that movie on repeat.
I would too. I would watch that, and that's got a great cast: Holly Hunter, John Goodman. Um, trying to think who else. There was somebody else in that. I can't remember his name.
I
Played the
haven't
brother-in-law,
so long.
but he everybody in that movie was hilarious.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And you can also see all the fun that they had filming it. You could just feel it like when you watch it on the big screen.
Yes, yeah, I think that there was a good camaraderie there with everybody.
Certainly, yeah, and and Nicolas Cage is going strong to this very day with Long Legs, and I mean, knowing that Long Legs was an independent film that was released alongside with Deadpool and Wolverine, and yeah, I mean, it had some competition, but it still did pretty good at the box office, and I actually saw it in theaters. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I want to. I've got to find a time that I can watch it without my daughter in the room. So
That's fair because after I saw the movie, it's not a kids movie.
no, 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 no. I wouldn't want to. She's a teenager, young teenager, so I wouldn't want to expose her to that.
which
But
is fair.
speaking of Nicolas Cage and going back to Spider-Man, he's doing the Spider Noir, the live action Spider Noir. I've seen on set photos of that. That looks really good.
Oh yeah, and I mean, considering that he actually was the voice of Spider-Man Noir, like in Into the Spider-Verse,
Yes.
and yeah, and honestly, when I saw the movie in theaters, I actually had no idea that that even was him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, then it wasn't until later on when I got curious and I checked out the cast on IMDb. I was like, whoa, that was Nick Cage.
Yeah, he was also the voice of Superman in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, which he finally got to portray his role of Superman.
Funny, I was about to say the exact same thing, and so yet again, you read my mind.
Going back to the Kevin Smith movie,
Yep,
uh,
yep.
that they had wanted Nicolas Cage, and he had an interesting concept for what he wanted Clark Kent to be. He wanted him to be grunge. He wanted him in the jeans and the flannel shirts and long hair, things like that. So it would have been an interesting portrayal of how we see Clark Kent.
Certainly, yeah. And people were complaining about, oh, Nicolas Cage is Superman, and it's like history repeats itself. And there was this video that's on YouTube. It's Kevin Smith talk about his experience working on the movie. I don't know if you saw this video, but it was hilarious. Like how he was talking about how he was working with John Peters, who was one of the producers. And
Yes,
oh my God, I don't know if you saw that.
I did. I actually got to see the story live. I saw Kevin Smith in concert one night, an evening with Kevin Smith, and he told the story about how they wanted a giant robot spider at the end of the movie. And he was like, "What does that have to do with the movie?" And then come to find out that producer went on to do Wild Wild West, and at the end of Wild Wild West, they had a giant robot spider come out at the end of the movie.
Oh
So
my
he finally got his robot spider.
Yeah, I don't know why John Peters was so gung ho about a giant spider. I mean, he must have like a lifelong fascination of giant spiders, I suppose. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Every time I watch that, I always laugh so hard, especially at that punchline at the very end, like about the giant spider and how he wanted Superman to fight polar bears.
Yeah.
And then he's saying, I want Superman to be a bloodthirsty killer. And then Kevin Smith was like, dude, it's Superman.
Yeah.
It's just the way how Kevin Smith was telling that story. It just made it so funny. And what makes it even more funny, all that really happened.
Right. Yeah.
And knowing that he didn't want Superman to fly or to wear his iconic suit, it's like,
right.
huh? It's like those are essential characteristics to Superman.
Yeah, that's the epitome of Superman. He
Exactly.
flies and he wears that suit with the big S on it.
Yeah, it's like Batman without the pointy ears.
Right.
It just, it wouldn't be Superman. Or it's like Freddy Krueger without the glove
The glove.
or without like the burn marks. It just wouldn't be Freddy then.
Right. And speaking of, have you seen, I believe, is it Rob Zombie that's doing the new Fred show? With it's a new portrayal of Freddy Krueger. And I can't, what is,
Well, that's news to me because I honestly haven't heard anything about that.
let me see, Rob Zombie. Sorry, I have to get this right. That's
Do what you got to do.
Fred. Yeah, DJ Qualls is portraying Freddy Krueger.
Huh. I did not hear about that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And that's going to be directed by Rob Zombie.
That I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that, so that's news to me.
I'm wondering if it's a fan film now that I'm looking at it. First series trailer. Fred, a Rob Zombie series, first trailer. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm misquoting here. But it says it's supposed to be on HBO Max.
Huh. Yeah, that's all news to me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, wow. Now you mention that, yeah, I definitely want to look into that now.
Yeah, I would look into it because maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm misquoting here. Maybe I've been had. So
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's possible it could just be a rumor. But if it is true, then yeah, I definitely will be interested in seeing that.
yes, yes. So I fall for those things sometimes. The poster and the trailer look so real, and then I'm like, oh, that's fan art. So
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, all this fan art and even a lot of stuff with AI now, it's pretty
right.
convincing now. Like there was this thing that went viral about a live action Land Before Time remake, and then afterwards, I then fact checked it and I saw that no, that's not actually true.
Ah, yeah. Maybe I've been had. I apologize for spreading false rumors. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, and I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, no one's perfect.
right, right. You got me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, hey, the most important part is that if you genuinely do make a mistake, the best thing that you can do is to have that accountability.
Yes, yes. So if it's not real, I apologize, audience.
Okay. Yeah. So that about does her. So is there any upcoming projects that you want to plug in?
Let's see. No, I've been auditioning lately, but
Okay.
things in the industry are a little slow right now. So I'm just promoting Silverlight right now. And thank you to your fans that have seen it
Uh huh.
because it's overnight. We got over 100 views last night when I went to bed. There was like 79 views, and I woke up this morning to 180. So it's getting out there. I just posted it to my Facebook, and I'm looking forward to working with anybody and everybody out there that'll have me.
Awesome. Well, and I mean, considering that I'm a filmmaker myself, but yeah, I definitely would love to have you like to be a part of some of my films.
I would love to do that. I travel well. So
Awesome, awesome. Well, I certainly will be sure to keep you in mind.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But yeah, so I guess any final words of advice, like to anybody wanting to pursue film?
Anybody that wants to pursue film, I would say I just saw a speech by Philip Seymour Hoffman that talked about. It was great advice that I saw that he said, audition, audition, audition. Any chance you have to act is honing your craft. And any audition, treat it as it's the performance, and people will remember you.
Certainly, yeah. And I mean, even if it's a role that doesn't particularly interest you, like a good example is how Jamie Lee Curtis is not a fan of horror movies, but yet Halloween got her name out there. So yeah, so even if it's a role that's not in particular interest to you, it can still open up doors because Jamie Lee Curtis even will say that, yeah, even though I don't like horror movies, but if it wasn't for Halloween, I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Right, right. That is very true. So always be studying and practicing, and I hope to work with each and every one of you one day. So
Oh yeah, certainly so. Well, anyways, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, and I look forward to hearing from you again.
yeah, we'll keep in touch. Thank you for the opportunity. I had a blast.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, of course. I also had fun too.
All right.
All right, have a fantastic day.
Thanks, you too.
Of course.